Here's a guy who is extremely valuable to us, Bernard Madoff. If any of you don't know of him, take a look on the internet and you'll be able to discover the author of the largest Ponzi scheme in the entire history of the world. In my almost 20 years of business, any type of system breach that I have ever had in my company gave me an opportunity to improve our workflow process and the security of what we were doing going forward. See, events like this I sort of like because whenever you run into an issue like this with somebody, you always find a better method by which you could be doing the work. So for instance, here's Madoff. He's been doing this basically on his own for 20 years. There's no question to me that other people have been involved with it, but he's probably going to try to take the fall himself. But the real underlying factor is here. The SEC was involved. You had very smart investors involved. You had very well-heeled investors involved. How did he get around all of those people? So that's what we want to know. And that information should be translated into some sort of regulation going forward where it would be able to be implemented and protect investors like me and you and others from any sort of issue like this again. Take a look at this picture. This is Frank Abagnale. In the 1960s, he was in his 20s and he passed $2.5 million of bad checks. Well, $2.5 million of bad checks for you number geeks out there is the equivalent of about $17 million in today's dollars using the CPI as the metric. If you really want to go crazy about it and exaggerate $2.5 million in the 1960s, use relative share of GDP and it's only about $40 million. So here's a guy between $40 million and on the low side $16 million of theft in the 1960s. And here's Madoff at $50 billion potentially. So now here's something cool. That Abagnale gets caught by the FBI, he goes to jail, and then because of all of his skills, he becomes an informant for the FBI, and he basically helps detail out how to stop bank fraud and implements new systems and securities. And when he gets out of jail, he ends up starting up a fraud security protection program, and Frank becomes a millionaire operating his own company doing that. Now that's pretty impressive. Now, do we expect the same from Madoff, and do we wish the same from Madoff? Probably not. But what we can learn is that the FBI used Abagnale as an informant and basically used his brain to help identify other fraud cases and put into place new measures that would protect the banking system. So that's something that we should obviously be doing with Madoff. There's no question about it. Let's not kill him. Let's keep him okay. Let's make sure he's not pampered, but let's make sure he spills the beans on how he did all of this because we want to know what he did, how he did it, who was involved, and be able to better protect our investments going forward. This is Erik Kaiser with the Remy Companies.